Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox. Today we're going to talk about the library, specifically in this section about some medical books. Let's just give you a quick tour. So it kind of starts down over here. It goes up there. All right, so this is about a little over a third, I think, of the books that my wife and I own. And so, like I said, today we're going to start talking about that. And we're going to talk specifically about some medical books. So, cue the intro. Pew, pew. I know some of you know there's somebody out there ripping me off. They're taking my videos, putting them on their site, trying to pretend they're me. They even have my mug picture shot up in the corner of their channel. People have written to me and said, Pastor Joe, is this your other channel? Come on, have you seen the channel art? You know that's not me, right? Come on. I've reported it to YouTube several times. No avail, crickets, nothing back. If y'all can flag videos or whatever and you want to do that, cool. But no, that is not me, and he's monetizing my videos. Just irritating, right? Whatever, man. So, yeah, bummer intro, but let's get to the stuff on libraries. So, my wife and I started collecting books in seriousness back in the 80s, right? And I decided we needed to amass a survival library. I really did. And Paladin Press, do y'all remember them? If you looked close enough at this section over here of my library, you'll see a lot of little knight's heads on books. I bought almost every survivalist book they had, right? We bought a lot of books. We went to library sales. We bought books there. And then when I got to a point in my career where I actually had disposable income, if I heard of a book, I would buy it. If it sounded mildly interesting, I'd look it up on the internet or go to a bookstore, or, whatever time frame it was, and I would get those books. And so we've amassed quite a few books. And then I went through the thought that maybe I'd get a tote bin, and I would go pick the most important books that would fit in this one tote bin, and I would put like red tape on them or something, and then those would be the books if we had to bug out. I'd pull them all off the shelf. I know they're already going to fit in this tote bin, and we'll throw that in the truck and we'll take off. The thought now of taking these books and putting, just a tote bin's worth to take with me is depressing. These books have all been in boxes for like the last year, and for reasons that don't matter right here. And I just finally got them back up on the shelves, and they're kind of in the gross sections where they belong. Like the medical books are up here right now. We're going to look at that here in a second. But they're not in the order they're supposed to be. I have an order in my head where books make sense to go next to each other, and right now I've just got them put up on the shelves. And really, to put them in the order they're going to be is going to be like a 2 or 3 day process. And right now, I ain't got time for that. So that's that. What I've decided to start doing is, because at one time we also thought these books, and again, this is a little over a third of what we have, we thought they were going to form the basis of a bigger community library. Man, I don't know if that's going to happen or not now. And so I got tired of not having access to the books. I think I said that. And so I've started going through, I started with the medical books, and I'm putting a little piece of yellow tape on it. And these are like the important books. If I can only grab a couple books, these are the ones I'm going to grab. I love them all. It's like you can only pick 2 guns. What are you going to get? And so I thought I'd go over that with you a little bit. Let me take one more sip of coffee, and then we'll get to it. All right. So up here, I have a whole bunch of nursing books. I think somebody went to like nursing school, and these are like textbooks. I haven't read them. I kind of looked through them and said, yeah, these are valuable. Let's get these books. They were probably 10 cents a piece when we got them. And my thought process was, world goes to chaos, whatever. You have more free time, maybe. Wow, this is kind of crooked. And maybe we had somebody in the group that decided they wanted to be the nurse or show that they had skill sets in that area, natural ability. And so it'd be like, hey, while we're washing dishes, why don't you start reading these books, right? And become a nurse for us. Male or female, I don't care. And so these are like a lot of nursing books up here. Home nursing, nursing essentials, maternity nursing, yada yada. Here's a book. I don't know if I'm gonna yellow tab it or not, but my wife and I have used this book a lot over the years. We bought this in the early 80s. Symptoms of Illness and Surgery. And when you're a young parent, for those of you who are, closer to my age or older, remember when you're a young parent, you don't know what you don't know? And kids get sick, you get sick, you're an adult first time outside of the house and you don't have mommy and daddy to help you. And so you're like, what do I do? We don't go to emergency rooms like that. Like so many people today, wow, you go to emergency room, there's some kid with a cold and they're in the emergency room. Are you kidding me? Whatever, I'm digressing. But this just has all kinds of, you can look up symptoms and then it tells you what it could be, gives you a better description, how they treat it, what to expect at the doctor, yada, yada. It was a really good book. I don't know if I'm going to yellow tab it anymore because now this information seems kind of basic to me. Because, life experience, we kind of know what we're looking at with things. And so my wife, so here, let me tell you this because we're talking medical stuff. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional at all. I was in Special Forces. We do a lot of cross-training in Special Forces, and one of the things we all got heavily cross-trained in was medical stuff, mostly to the extent of advanced first aid, right? Because, things can go horribly wrong when you're 500 miles behind enemy lines and nobody's coming to get you in a helicopter. So I had some skill sets, and then I got to thinking later on in life, probably about 15 years ago, what if I get shot? I no longer have 11 steely-eyed warriors, surrounding me that all know how to puncture a sucking chest, deal with a punctured or a sucking chest wound or something like that. What am I going to do? And so I convinced my wife to go to EMT training. And so she went to EMT training. She became an EMT. She worked as an EMT for a while. So my wife has EMT skills. And when she was doing that, I learned that my skill set is just a little bit above EMT. I can give an IV like that. And when she went to school, they weren't teaching EMTs how to give IVs. And everything else they taught her, I pretty much knew. I'm not as good as a paramedic. I know some paramedics. So there you go, right? That's where I fit in this. So I'm not claiming to be a medical professional. Anyway, I wanted my wife to at least be able to patch me up if I'm the guy injured, and so she went to EMT training. So we have all her books up here, all her notebooks and notes and handouts and stuff like that. She and I both went to CERT training, Community Emergency Response Team training, and they give you a lot of material for that, so we saved that. And then we made friends with the instructor, and we scored a CERT instructor manual. My father, which is a weird long story, was instrumental in starting the CERT program, and he started a local program in the Pacific Northwest, and then they found out about that, made it bigger, and then FEMA said, "Do you want a job?" And he said, "No, I'm done working." But I got all the stuff that was put together while he was doing it, and that's a big chunk of stuff from emergency response training stuff. And so we have that, and then my wife and I went to Firefighter 1, and she went to Firefighter 2, and so we have all that, instructional material all up in here. So, let's see here. There's a yellow tab book. The Merck Manual. You should get one. This is just a good basic medical reference. So the PDR, the Physician's Desktop Reference, that's up there somewhere. Normally, when I have these books arranged like I want, it'll be right next to this one. I'm not sure where it is right now. But it talks about just general, diseases, illnesses, injuries, kind of what goes with that, what wounds are, I just looked at wounds. I don't even know these words, right? I'm not a medical person. Clostridial wound infections. Can you see that? Looks like a Bible, doesn't it? But it's just a general medical reference, right? So this is a pretty good book to have. And so I have that. Let's see. This is a really good manual right here, and I may yellow tab it. It was put out by, I don't remember who, it's 3-ring binder kind of stuff, and it's a wound closure manual. And it goes, many of us have done suturing before. I've sutured like pig's feet, oranges, chicken. There's differences in all of them. So I know how to do basic stitching. This is talking about how to not only do that, but how to stitch eyes, how to stitch intestines, how to stitch heart, whatever, man. It's like, wow, really? That's kind of a cool book. But I don't know if I'm going to, because I don't really see myself stitching really any. I'm not taking out your appendix, so having a book to do that. Yeah, if we had a permanent, kind of setup and put it all in the medical room, and then the doctor shows up and it's like, oh yeah, I need to refresh on this, but They're all good books, right? All right, here's 3. I'm going long, sorry. This is also the 3rd time I've shot this video. One of the early books I got, A Barefoot Doctor's Manual. This is a good book. This was put out by the Communist Chinese, right? And it was designed to give to the designated healthcare provider, which is basically, you know, Ho Chi Minh, come here. You're now the doctor for this village. Here's a little bag of stuff. And it's just a good layman's guide to medical treatment of all kinds of stuff that you would find in a village, from a cut to diarrhea to birthing a baby to, you know, it has Chinese medicinal medicine in here, things like that. Some of it's a little bit difficult because it's translated from a Chinese manual, and so some of the words don't really come across correctly. Talks about preventive inoculations. I'm just picking stuff at random here. Goes over different parts of the body, therapeutic techniques, treatment with Chinese herbs, shows acupressure, stuff like that. But it's kind of interesting. You know, if the world does go, somebody's going to end up being the village doc, right? Whoever that is. It might not be a doctor. It could be the dental hygienist who's just, she's the most qualified to do it, you know. And so giving her or him a book like this and saying, you read this book while we're washing dishes, you know, division of labor, did I say that already? Might help. All right, so that's one. I've yellow tabbed it. See, I put yellow tape on the bottom of it so that I can pull it off the shelf quickly if we gotta go. Where There Is No Doctor. This is a good book. You can tell I've read it a lot. It's kind of beat up. I'm a little bit hard on books. Somebody asked me the other day, are you hard on equipment? No, I'm not hard on equipment, but I am hard on books. I really freak people out when they lend me a book and I send it back to them because I bend corners down when I'm reading. Whatever, man. It's a manual to me. It's not like a precious tome. Oh, you know, whatever. If you can't use it, I don't want it. So there you go. But this is called Where There Is No Doctor, and it's kind of like Peace Corps level. You're going to a place where there's not a lot of money, and you're kind of responsible for relieving suffering of the people. And so it goes over things like that you see in the third world, which is a politically incorrect term, developing nations. But, you know, how do you treat boils? How do you treat abscesses? What do you do for a bad tooth? What about kids with diarrhea? This is where I learned that a bunch, like maybe most children in the world die of diarrhea, believe it or not. And so it just tells you how to treat all these things, how to treat, and it has some graphic pictures in here. It's real, right? How to treat dog bites, how to treat burns, taking blood pressure, the importance of nutrition. You know, like, have you guys heard of the BRAT diet? Bread, rice, bananas, rice, apples, tea. See, gotta look it up again. My wife knows this, but it's like what you give a child when they have diarrhea, right? It kind of clogs them up, but still provides nutrition. Talks about, you know, if somebody has these symptoms, go pick some plants, put them together, make a soup, and it just gives them vitamins. I mean, it's a really interesting book, and you should probably have it for when chaos reigns. And then this is kind of like a similar book, Where There Is No Dentist, right? And it's kind of the same, along the same lines. See the pictures? The pictures are made to be able to be used in all different cultures so that people understand them. Let's see here, just go to another one. Should probably start doing more of that. And so these are pretty good books. Let's see what else I got here. I have a lot of books on military field sanitation, because field sanitation is important, especially when you get a group of people. You know, you don't want poop laying around and getting in your water supply and that kind of thing. Medicinal wild plants. I've red tabbed this, yellow tabbed this one. Medicinal plants, wild of the prairie. I'd like to find one of the Ozarks, you know, also. But it just tells all the different plants, how to identify them, what they look like, and what parts you can use for what. And so that's pretty good. Let's see here. What do I got? Edibles and herbals. No. War Hospital. This is actually a pretty good book right here. I read books like Doctors Without Borders. I have a couple books of theirs. But you kind of get into the mindset of people performing medicine, practicing medicine under really austere and not so nice conditions and just dealing with stuff. It takes, this person was in the Balkans. It takes a special kind of person to be able to do that work. I'm not that guy. You know, man's got to know his limitations. I can stick a knife in somebody and make a big old hole in them with the intent of doing, you know, bad things to their body. But for me, the thought of cutting somebody open and fixing something to make them better and sewing them back up, that's not me, right? But there are people who can. And so my thought process was getting these books, one, so I have a general knowledge, but two, so that if that person happened to wander by, I could say, here you go, start reading, become our doc, right? So that's kind of some of the medical books. I'll just bring the camera over here in a second, kind of do a slow pan, so if you're interested, you can hit pause and see some of the books we have. If you like this, we can do it again. I don't know, I'm starting to get a little bored with it already talking, but you know, I have like survival books, preparedness books. Somebody asked me, have you heard of the Foxfire series, Pastor Joe? I have 7 or 9 of them. I see Foxfire 7 right there. I got them when they came out, back in the 70s. So, yeah, and then I go to construction, masonry, all that kind of stuff, wiring, solar, then security books, intelligence books, special operations books. What do we got over there? More special operations books, more history, you know, stuff like Lawrence of Arabia, Killing Pablo, and then into some of international books, Asia books, Indian books, history books, religious books. We got books, right? And that's just these. We have others. So here, let me do a pan. And then if you're interested, I should probably go look on YouTube too. Somebody told me they've got these channels, all they do is talk about books. You know, maybe we'll get a whole new group of the audience here, but let's see what we got here. Dun, dun, dun. I don't even know if this will focus. You probably see some cobwebs up there. Then we'll come down here. And then in my mind, these books kind of go into running books because that's health, right? And then I have veterinary books, and then they start going into the animal books, and then the animal books go into the animals you eat books, and then the gardening, and then the, you know, homesteading, All right, man, I hope that didn't bore you. I'm probably going to watch this video before I post it. Buy some books, read them. Improve your mind. Get away from the computer so much. It's good to have it so you read it and you still have it later. I think I remember that. And my advice, don't treat your books like sacred objects. Write in them, write in the margin, highlight them, bend things down, stick bookmarks in them, whatever. Use your books. All right, I'll see you out there.